Recurrent droughts in northern Kenya since time immemorial have hindered the ability of pastoralists to recover from their devastating effects. They contribute to increased vulnerability, leading to destitution and poverty. For livelihoods to survive, there is need for strengthening existing coping mechanisms through long and short-term interventions. It is basically for these reasons that Northern Aid was founded as a non-governmental organization with an aim of mobilizing resources and political goodwill to support initiatives that not only address but reverse the problems which afflict the marginalized communities of northern Kenya. The northern region of Kenya simply draw a line across the map of the country, starting at Kitale in the west, through Lake Baringo and Isiolo, all the way to the Tana River Delta in the east. The area above of this line, over 2/3 of the country's land, is what is referred to as northern Kenya. Working in northern Kenya since 1995, Northern Aid, for short NAID, has continuously engaged the local pastoralist communities in various community projects over the years. The projects aim at building community capacities on different issues that include governance, education, HIV and AIDS, disaster risks reduction, livelihoods and emergency programs. Kenya is one of the driest regions in the country. The plains routinely reach dangerously hot temperatures of 50 degrees centigrade and above at midday without even a hint of wind. Rainfall is erratic and unreliable, and therefore search for water and pasture is the main reason for the pastoralist's nomadic life. In order to enhance safe water accessibility by pastoralists and their herds, Northern Aid has supported 6 boreholes in Wargadud, Shimpir, Fatuma, Kalangalesa, Karsadamu, and El-Tul through provision of fuels, lube oil filters, and air cleaners for the generators. And for purposes of continuous supply of water, Northern Aid made it a point to provide technicians for the maintenance of the generators that operate almost round the clock. And having had experience in handling emergencies, NAID implements water tracking activity in consultation with the project beneficiaries and other stakeholders, particularly in mapping out sites where water is to be delivered. Water tracking is informed by the desire to save lives and livelihoods of the pastoralist communities during the critical phases of drought. This activity is also aimed at reducing stress level of pastoralists in accessing safe, clean drinking water and also the distance their herds have to cover to water points. Northern Aid has full-time intervention programs in Mandera Central and West constituencies with a total population of about 650,000 people. The backbone of the district's economy is nomadic pastoralism. In recent years, the area has been affected by a combination of insecurity and drought. In attempts to soften the impacts of the recurrent threats to livelihoods, Northern Aid, together with other local and international NGOs, have been undertaking intervention activities to assist the local communities. Through their field office in Elwak, close to the Kenya-Somali border, Northern Aid has trained a number of young men in the use and administration of veterinary drugs. Livestock is indeed treasured in this region as a means of livelihood. However, during the drought of 2011, the situation in northern Kenya was so severe, people resorted to all sorts of things as a coping mechanism. This included selling off their livestock as well as migrating to other areas in a bid to save the remaining ones. That in itself didn't help much as the drought persisted. People therefore became destitute. It is at this point that Northern Aid conducted participatory vulnerability capacity assessment exercise. The purpose of it was to work together with the community in analyzing risks associated with disasters. The process resulted in the prioritization of greenhouse model of farming as an effective and sustainable coping strategy. The project has been implemented in Kutulo Division, 33 kilometers from Elwak District. The area is characterized as having fertile soil and should support agricultural practices. Indeed, its agricultural potential has been clearly demonstrated through farm produce that include maize, watermelons, pawpaw, tomatoes, and onions. Part of diversification of sources of income for the communities, Northern Aid also supports and promotes beekeeping. As an activity, beekeeping offers great potential for development in most areas of Kenya, and Northern Kenya is therefore no exception. Beekeeping requires little space and hence an ideal activity for small-scale poor farmers. Apart from the benefits of bees in growing vegetables, fruits and flowers, among others, the honey they produce is of benefit at household level, let alone the popular demand that exists for it.
Northern Aid NGO, hiyo NGO imetuletea maendeleo ya kwanza beehives. Hapa tulisema sisi tunataka kula honey, asali kwa Kiswahili, sawa? Basi asali sisi tulisema hapa iko nyingi sana na tusaidie nayo.
Another potential source of income lies in brick making. With abundant space and locally available material, brick making holds great promise in transforming the lives of people in Mandera. To begin with, bricks by themselves are bound to influence local residents in adopting modern methods of building, thus spurring demand that will sooner than later lead to commercial activity in brick production. It is basically for this reason that Northern Aid decided to acquire these brick-making tools for the members of the community. Northern Kenya has lagged behind in development due to poor representation in policy-making institutions. Northern Aid therefore sees good governance as key to viable livelihoods and as an end to marginalization. To this end, Northern Aid has been running a 5-year program since 2009, dubbed Power to the People and Vital Voices. The twin projects are intended to empower communities in Northern Kenya in decision-making processes as well as participatory governance. It is in this context that Northern Aid has been organizing capacity-building workshops to enlighten local community members about their interests and rights. Northern Aid envisions a Northern Kenya where its people live a secure, prosperous, and dignified life. Meanwhile, Northern Aid, in line with its mission, will surely continue to articulate, protect, as well as promote the cause of minority and marginalized pastoralist groups in a discrimination-free environment in Northern Kenya.